To the school committee meeting of April 29th, 2020. As we start all meetings, especially Zoom meetings, I want to remind everyone this is being broadcast live. It is also being recorded for use at a later date if needed. As you raise your hands this evening or we try to talk, I will try to take you in order. Also, if someone makes a motion and it gets seconded, that person protocol-wise has the option to talk first. But as we know, everyone gets an opportunity to talk anyway. So I just want to kind of get that out there so everybody knows. So I would ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay, I'm going to take a roll call. Mr. Boyce.
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Chris Scriven.
Yes.
Fred Small. Fred.
He's muted.
Yes, here.
Allie Taylor.
Yes.
And Bob Hayes. Okay, all are in attendance. And please note also that Kevin Kafker and Cindy McGann are also in attendance, and the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. Okay, I'm going to take some things out of order, and you'll see as we move forward. I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Small will make that motion.
Second.
If you
Please
read
use
the
your name
purpose.
when you, listen, just please use your name when you're making a motion because Michelle needs to hear you. For
Mr. Small will make that motion. If you could just read the purpose, please.
I'm getting that second.
Second. Mr. Scriven.
To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and I believe it would. WHEA bargaining units. Roll call. Mr. Boyce.
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Cullity.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Scriven.
Yes.
Mr. Small.
Yes.
Allie Taylor.
Yes.
And Bob Hayes, yes. Okay. Jeff, can you see if I can look actually participants? We are now in executive session. When we come out of executive session, we may be taking some votes. We may also be motioning to adjourn or passing over some items, but we will come out of executive session.
Okay, we are live. Back in session.
Okay, the school committee meeting of April 29th, 2020 is now back live out of executive session. I'm going to go back and entertain a motion to accept the amended minutes of April 22nd, 2020. Michelle sent you all in your electronic packet an amendment because there was a mistake of the attendance of who was there and Robbie voting, and Robbie was absent at the time.
Mr. Small will make that motion.
Mr. Boyce, second.
Motion. Dan, did you second it?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay. Mr. Small, would you second it?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion of the minutes that are amended of April 22nd, 2020? Seeing none, roll call. Mr. Boyce.
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Cullity.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Robbie, you're muted.
Rob, are you here?
Sorry about that. I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Mr. Scriven,
Yes.
Mr. Small,
Yes.
Ms. Taylor. Ally?
Muted.
Sorry,
Is that-
yes.
And Bob Hayes, yes. Okay. Old business, operating budget and local assessments. Superintendent, FY '20 current budget and revenue losses, potential grants and opportunities. I know that Jeff was looking to maybe pass over this because he's going to have some better numbers for us, but you
Yeah,
can
so-
speak to
so-
that, Jeff.
So Bob, very briefly, because I would like to pass over it, but very briefly, we are still looking at any type of revenues that we will have based upon COVID-19 and the closure. The one loss that I can tell you right up front is our pre-K and our K revolving have taken a substantial hit. So I want to make sure that we have, before we can roll any revenues or monies that we're saving from the closure, making sure we can cover the costs of providing salaries for paraprofessionals and teachers due to the loss of tuition that we either couldn't retain or couldn't process because we're not in school, and all the tuitions we had to refund because of the closure. The one grant opportunity was presented by Josh Cutler to us for municipalities. As far as anything related to COVID-19, we will get in the queue for the CARES Act. He sent us a list of information, and we are going to try to compile as much information that we can bring back to the district for any losses we have or expenditures we've put in because of the closure. One of those is cleaning. Some of it is technology. Our license for Zoom right now, those things we will put into the grant, and hopefully we'll receive some money back from the Fed through the state. Josh told me it comes in there's three different cycles. There's one now, there's one in the middle of the summer, late summer, and then there'll be another one in November. So that's something that we will look into, but I hope to have within the next week or two more information on potential savings due to the closure. I don't have those specific numbers right now.
Okay. Any questions for the superintendent? You pretty much summed it up, so we didn't pass over.
Yep.
Looks like
So
Robbie has a
Robbie,
question.
And Jeff, I was just going to throw to you, if you want to hit me up offline. I don't know if you were on the MEMA conference call or not, that deals with all the funding that's out there, and some of it's for regional school districts.
Awesome.
Also, that deals with salaries and stuff like that. You're able to recoup some money there. So
Okay.
hit me up tomorrow, because Mike Mix and I have been working on that for the town of Hanson.
Absolutely. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, excellent.
Dawn, I heard a voice, I just didn't see. Did you have a question, Dawn? No? I'm sorry, I just heard a voice and I'm slipping back and forth so I don't miss anyone. Okay, Department of Education and Secondary Education guidelines on the FY '21 Regional School District.
Just the process for that, folks, is if we don't have a budget passed by both communities by June 1st, we have to notify the commissioner that we don't have a budget. And obviously right now, since town meetings aren't until the middle of June, I'll be drafting a letter to the commissioner saying that the Whitman Hanson Regional School District does not have a budget, and there's a potential that we won't have a budget by July 1st. So the commissioner will start preparing a 1/12 budget for us. What that means is he will take the FY '20 number. He will also take the FY '21 projected number that we have, and he will use the FY '21 minimum local contributions as set by DESE, and he will also use the FY '21 Chapter 70 monies set by DESE to formulate a budget for us. John, is that what your understanding of that conference call was?
Yes, I agree. They will take the revenue budget that we have created and used last year's expenses. Now, what they were very clear about is that we have to use the current chapter, the current cherry sheet when we go ahead and make the submission. So if and when the legislature votes a budget, if it's different, then the revenues will change. But that's what they're asking for at this point.
Fred?
So we're using the House One, which was what, $79,000 increase, if I
It's
recall
House-
correctly.
It's House One, and I don't remember the number offhand, but one of the things that,
$20 a pupil, I thought.
actually, I don't think House One included the $20 for the additional pupils. That usually comes at a later date. I think
Well, that was part of the SOA, part of the Student Opportunity Act, was starting off at $20 a pupil, I thought, or 30. I'm not sure, but I have stuck in my mind it was 79,000 and change, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please someone correct me. I'm just working off of what I sort of remember.
I thought it was 22, Fred.
Hang on.
I'm not really sure that the number means much right now. I think I was just still explaining the process of where we're going to be if we end up moving to
Exactly.
a June 1st. So I'd rather not get wrapped up in numbers because I'm not prepared for numbers
Okay.
right now. I was just explaining the process.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for the superintendent? Mr. Colity? Dan, you're muted.
Can I get a date on the when the town meetings for Hanson and Whitman are now rescheduled to?
I know Hanson is scheduled for June 15th, and I thought
That's
Whitman
what I
had a tentative of June 3rd. Folks, correct me if I'm wrong. Those are the dates that I heard were the tentative dates.
And that June 3rd, from what I heard, is changing.
I thought it was June 24th.
I thought it was a 20 number too.
I have not heard that.
Did they change it already? I don't know if they've changed it, but I heard it was changing.
And the
Anyone
and
else
second
from-
part of it, when would we be required to set the budget? Are we still under that 30-day notice before town meeting?
I'm looking at different things, and since town meeting dates are fluctuating, that the April 30th date was set for us to give an assessment number if town meetings were traditionally the first week of May. Right now, I think we need to walk slowly and correctly to make sure we set a budget that will be equitable for the towns. Now that if you're saying town meeting in Whitman is the 24th, that might give us even some more time to work with the numbers that we have.
Jeff, I don't know if that's an accurate thing. That was just something I heard, and Dan said something about with the 20 number too. I have no idea.
Okay.
They might have not had yet to
No.
set that, but that's what the rumor is.
Mr. Howard?
Yeah, so Jeff, I think, notwithstanding the budget that we obviously have to work through and set, which, we'll get through. I think we'll get there. But notwithstanding that process, this 1/12 budget, right? So this temporary 1/12 budget, would you be able to start to share what that would look like? So again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying 1/12 because we didn't pass the budget. I'm saying 1/12 because we don't have town meetings, a budget isn't approved, and what that looks like. Is that something that you would be prepared maybe for the next meeting to start to walk through how that would work? And again, I'm not suggesting that that's because we can't get a budget done. I'm just suggesting it just looks like these town meetings keep moving, and we're not going to get a budget approved. So we may start on that 1/12.
I think, Chris, I think you're right on. What we can start to do is walk through it. I think the conference call that we had around setting this 1/12 and what that might look like, the Jay Sullivan from DESE said, you're going to look at your FY20 numbers, and that's going to be a hit because we all know we have collective bargaining agreements and contracts, and everybody moves forward. We will be using the number of FY20. Whether the commissioner decides to move opposite or forward from that number, I don't know. I have had informal conversations with folks, and what I got from that conversation is, in usual circumstances, and this is unusual that the commissioner's jumping into a district that doesn't have a budget. Right now, we're looking at every regional school district within the Commonwealth not having a budget by July 1st. So I don't know the process or the formula the commissioner is going to use for every school district in the Commonwealth. I think John and I have talked about it. Jay Sullivan or Christine Lynch would come down in a circumstance outside of COVID. If we didn't have a budget, they would sit down with representatives from the school committee, representatives from both selectmen and the town administrators and say, what can we do here to make it work by September? You'll be in a 1/12 July and August. What can make it work? Jay is saying right now, the assumption from DESE is that by August, communities, because of COVID and not being able to hold a traditional town meeting, hopefully they would have a town meeting in July or August and set the budget based upon on what the school committee recommends. I don't know what the commissioner is going to set for us if we are still not understanding of what our number is. I don't know. But I would base that projection for us and what that looks like on strictly FY20 numbers.
Did that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Dawn?
Thank you. If we're in a difficult situation here, and I think it serves the committee that we need to look at all revenue and expenses, and I brought it up before in regards to user fees. I bring it up again only because if we go to a 1/12 budget, that is not within the committee's control anymore to add or take away or change any user fees. So again, the issue of athletics. I want to put academics first. Athletics are also important. But if it's $400,000 in our budget, I would like to ask that at some future agenda item, we review the current athletic fees. If there's an additional revenue stream that the committee wants to review, there are other, our current user fee is $250 for the first sport, $50 for second and third. There are other towns that are $300 each sport across the board. Nobody wants to pay it, but we're in dire circumstances here. So I'm just asking that we review all revenue and expenses in our budget.
Okay, we'll talk about that as we move down to budget, Dawn.
No,
We were
I
just
gotta-
talking about the process, but I understand, and I know you've talked about that several times, and don't let me forget, make sure we get to that. Anything else about the 1/12 budget
I
process?
got a question.
Go ahead.
I don't understand why she keeps bringing up the user fees. Like, she's brought it up 3 times now, and nothing's happened with it. The issue with the user fees is that you're going to lose student population. I think Jeff knows what happens when student population goes down. She keeps bringing up the same thing. It makes no sense. It has nothing to do with this. Why does she keep bringing that up? If we lose more students to school choice and everything, that's a total loss. Kids come here, they want to play sports. It's fine.
Ally,
Let them
I
play
see you.
sports.
Yep.
I think it's ridiculous. She keeps bringing it up and wasting everyone's time.
I can't answer that question, Mike. Let's get to that when we get to budget. You can bring that back up. Ally, it's something about the budget process, and as we move down, we can talk about that. Just trying to stay on track.
Yeah, no, I was just going to make a comment about the user fees, just in general. Like, I don't think it's a good idea when a lot of our families can't afford school lunches.
Okay, let's talk
That's
about
all.
that if we get to budget.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm not trying to push it off.
No, I get it.
Let's try to stay on that. All right. Are we done with the elementary, secondary education guidelines, FY21 regional school district intern 1/12 budget process? Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay, next up, discussion to rescind the statutory assessment methodology for FY21. I'd entertain a motion to pass over that.
Mr. Scriven, would like to make that motion.
Mr.
Is that you,
Howard,
Dan?
Mr. Small will second it,
Discussion?
or Chris, I believe, seconded it anyway, so.
Michelle, are you getting all this?
Yeah,
Michelle?
I have Chris Scriven voted to pass over and Mr. Small seconded.
Okay, discussion? Okay, no discussion. Okay, roll call. Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Ms. Spires,
Yes.
Cullity,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Scriven,
Yes.
Mr. Small,
Yes.
Ms. Taylor,
Yes.
Bob Hayes, yes. Okay. Next item up, adopt and certify FY 2021 school budget. Now, if you'd like to talk about the sports fees, or I would entertain a motion to pass over this.
I'll make Mr. Small make a motion to pass over.
Seconded by Mrs. Taylor.
Is there any, did you get that, Michelle? Like, let me switch back, I'm sorry. Okay. Is there any discussion about adopting and certifying the FY 2021 school budget?
I didn't hear the motion, Bob.
We're going to pass over it.
Okay.
Dawn?
Are we waiting for more information? I'm trying to understand why we're passing over when we were told we needed a budget by April 30th.
I would think, well, go ahead, Chris, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I've been in, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I'm hearing that Whitman and Hanson has made some significant progress. And I think if we hold off one more week, we might have some real
I
good
see you,
news.
Dan.
So
Go ahead,
I
I'm
think
sorry, Chris.
at this point, I think it's best just to hold off and look to set the budget next week.
Dan?
Jumping on what Chris was saying, I heard give them, we're meeting, selectmen are meeting tomorrow night, I think, or get together to discuss some of these things. So we're not going to get anything out of talking about this budget because there's no new information. We're just going to have the same fights as we've had in the last few weeks until we can get over this hurdle. Nothing's changed. No new money coming in, no new money leaving or anything. Nothing's changed budget-wise to discuss. If we just wait another week, let them get to their little meeting, find out what we can get out of them. I think that's what our goal here is that's why we're bypassing the rescinding and certifying the budget right now, because we have nothing really to go on. We're just going to throw out the same numbers, the same vote's going to come up.
Fred?
And I also believe that we're waiting on perhaps some additional information, revenue figures as to what our affordability is going to be for a budget at the same time. So best to have all the information that we can most definitively garner. And if it takes, another meeting to, and God bless whoever that was, I think
sorry.
Ellie. I think it's prudent to have all the information, so that we can make the best decision possible and within our budget.
Anyone else? I'm looking on the other page. Dawn, go ahead, then Mr. Boyce.
I wanted to follow up and recognize my comment about user fees. I would appreciate it if we could get any more information about students who do leave our schools. How many are leaving for academic reasons? We know in the line item budget for the high school, there was zero money allocated to technology for Chromebooks. We heard from Dr. Jones earlier in the year. We have 300 Chromebooks for over 1,000 students at the high school, barely enough to take standardized tests online during the year. So when our budget includes 400,000 for athletics and zero for technology, I would like to revisit that.
Mr. Small.
Point of order, I believe.
We're talking about passing over. We're not getting into redoing our budget. I'm just trying to stay on track. Nope. So go ahead, Fred.
Real brief. I believe anything that would concern user fees would be policy and have to go through the policy subcommittee first. before it would be entertained by this board.
Okay.
Move to vote.
Okay,
I think
nothing else?
Steve had his hand up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boyce.
That's okay. I was listening twice as much this evening because I have 2 ears and only 1 mouth, and I think I was talking way too much last week. But I actually want to thank Chris Scriven because I now understand. Chris, I did some homework this past week. Kudos to you, the RAAC committee. I've learned a lot more. I had to take another course, a night course. Well, no, this was a Monday morning course. And I just really learned a lot about what you were doing. And I have to also thank Chris Howard because, receiving a couple emails this week, and it does have to do with our budget and so forth, but I understand we're passing over. Chris, you brought to my eyes region. I'm on a school that's a school committee in a regional school committee. And of the 2 emails I received this past week, some of you may not have received them. They just made me re-emphasize that I'm not just Whitman, I'm a regional school. And I just want to say that and thank you folks, because I think in everything I've heard, I don't know if I kept that in the back of my mind, and I should have been. And so I really just appreciate the work you're putting out there. Kudos to you all.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to pass over. Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Cullity. Ian,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Scriven,
Yes.
Mr. Small,
Yes.
Ms. Taylor,
Yes.
Bob Hayes, yes. Okay, and last up is
Bob,
assessments.
Excuse
You
me,
missed
Bob.
me, Bob.
You forgot Mr. Howard, Bob.
But yes.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I went right by him. I have a list too, I'm checking off.
All good. I don't want to have
Okay.
poor Michelle have to do an amendment to the minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Unanimous, Michelle, yes. And last up was
Pass over.
local assessments. It really should have been discussed. I'd entertain a motion to pass over. Chris, we get that to him before we can discuss it. Mr. Cullity?
We'll make
Yeah,
a
I'd like
motion to,
Second, Mr. Cullity's motion to pass over.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Spires?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Mr. Cullity?
yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Scriven?
Yes.
Mr. Small?
Yes.
Ellie Taylor?
Yes.
Bob Hayes, yes. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll make that motion, Dan Quility.
Second,
I have Michelle, did you get them both?
Mr. Scriven, second.
Excuse me, is the next meeting next week?
I think we can go 2 weeks,
Ooh.
Wow.
which would bring us
A mini
to.
vacation.
But I was just gonna say the same thing.
Is anybody looking forward to when we can all sit in the library again?
Yes.
I am too.
I
2
probably won't
weeks
be on the
would be
committee then.
May 13th, is that correct?
No, May 6th. Oh, wait, today's the 29th. Yeah, May 13th.
May 13th? Everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, Michelle, May
Should
13th?
we keep in mind that perhaps to call an emergency
If need
executive
be,
session
Fred,
if
I
needed?
will be more than do that. I will get back to we'll tentatively schedule for May 13th. And if anything comes up, I will, through Michelle, contact all of you and we will change the date.
We all have such busy travel schedules.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I have an entertained a motion to adjourn in a second. Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Ms. Byers,
Yes.
Mr. Colity,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Scriven,
Yes.
Mr. Small,
Yes.
Ally Taylor,
Yes.
Bob Hayes. We are adjourned. Before you all leave, stay safe. Keep social distancing on your mind. I want to see everybody back here. And thank you, everyone who contributed to the food pantries. What a success story that Whitman one is, Andy Hanson. So thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wear a
Good night.
mask
Thank you.
next week.